Sup boys? So since my last video, I started an org. Big surprise for a lot of people. Many people thought it was going to be a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. So last Sunday, in front of over 100,000 people, which by the way guys, thank you very much for watching and tuning into it, I announced my new org, OTK, One True King, with Rich Campbell, Tips Out, S-Fand, and Mizkif. I still cannot even believe that it's happened. I can't believe the amount of feedback and great support that we've gotten, and I wanted to make a video and give more of like a personal perspective on why I started the org and what I really want to get out of it and why I'm excited about it and what kind of went into the decision to making it happen. So I did talk about this a little bit in my announcement video for it, and I talked about it a bit on my stream, but again, since it's, on my personal channel, I just kind of wanted to get into it and kind of tell the whole story about how it happened from start to finish. So, a little bit over a year ago, a lot of orgs started contacting me and they wanted me to be part of their org. I've had, I think, about half a dozen or so orgs talk to me, and they all had one thing that I didn't want to do, and some of them, to be fair, had two things that I didn't want to do. And after I had enough of these conversations, I thought to myself, this idea of being part of an org is kind of cool. I like the idea of an org, but I just don't want to join any of these orgs. So I thought to myself, well, why don't I just make my own org with blackjack and hookers? And it's, by the way, that's not what we're going to do, but that was at least my thinking going into it. I was like, you know what? All of these other orgs have these other things that I don't want to do, but I like the idea of an org, so why don't I just start my own? And that's whenever the genesis of the idea really kind of came into my mind. And this is whenever I started thinking about making an org. What would it sound like? What would it be like? Who would be in it? What kind of events would we do? What kind of teams would we sponsor, etc. And the idea came into my mind, and I just kind of really kept it to myself. And this was the case for quite a while, until about a year ago. It's hard really for me to say when, but about a year ago, whenever S-Fand and Rich and I all did the Classic WoW beta duelers tournament. And I remember the event went so well. We got so much positive feedback from pretty much everybody. And I remember very clearly this moment. I said this one in my announcement video, where the three of us were laying all at the same time on S-Fand's blow-up twin mattress, reading good comments about each other to each other, because we were just so happy with how well the event turned out. And I think that moment was just so important to me. And whenever I had that happen, I thought to myself, well, I think I know who I'm going to start my org with. Some of my best friends now. And I thought to myself, you know what, this is awesome. Like, I really enjoyed doing it. I had tons of fun. And it also gave me another window into making content for my stream. So whenever that first happened, I started, kind of talking to them about it, and we had a number of conversations about it, and at that point, it became a little bit more of a reality, but still basically just kind of like a conversation that we were having that was ongoing. And this happened, and it went on, especially whenever Classic WoW came out, because this was right before, of course, Classic WoW. A lot of us were looking forward to, there's a squirrel right up there, a lot of us were looking forward to Classic WoW, to the point to where we were just excited about that more than anything. So Classic WoW comes out, and everybody and everything, all of our real life plans pretty much got put on hold. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys can probably relate to that too, and including the org. So we stopped doing basically everything else, and we focused entirely on playing the game. And this was the case for about 4 months or so. And for better or worse, Classic WoW was what it was. And then after that, this is towards the end of the year, the beginning of this year, that's whenever we really started talking about actually doing, actually doing the org in more of a serious sense. We started talking about what would we call the org, when would we announce the org, and that's whenever the idea became more of a plan. And at that time, we also thought to ourselves, S-Fand and I are streaming, we are streaming all the time, we're making videos all the time, we're doing stuff all the time. We need to have more people to actually make sure the org happens and make sure the org runs right, because we might not necessarily be, massive, I have a degree in business, but, and also in saying that, that means that I know to some degree what you need to do in a business. I know that I won't have the time or the energy to do that while at the same time I'm managing my stream. So I knew that we had to involve more people and get them more directly involved with making the org a reality. And that's whenever we looked around and we saw Tips out and we saw how well he had done with the CDL. And I've been friends with Tips for like 3 years. I've known Tips ever since he's had like 100 subscribers. So needless to say, he's a good friend of mine. And I thought, shit, like, let's get this guy. Let's talk to Tips. Let's see if he's interested. And I think Tips was pretty much interested right off the bat. And he had wanted to do something like this himself, but just for the same reason that we had, there was just never really enough people or enough momentum to really make it happen. So with all of us together, we thought that, you know what, maybe we might be able to do it. And at that time, the 3 became the 4. And Tips became part of our team, and we started really talking about names. We talked to some branding agencies, and we just started having more realistic conversations about what an org would really look like. And we thought to ourselves also that the 3 of us are really primarily involved with WoW, and this is our main game. This is what we talk about. This is what we think about. This is what we know best. And we didn't really want to be a WoW org. Obviously, we're going to focus mainly on WoW content, especially at the beginning, because that's our main point of strength. That's what we know best. But is that something that we want to focus on and that we want to define the org off of? No, it's not. And that's whenever we kind of thought to ourselves, well, who is somebody that we could have be part of the org who isn't necessarily part of the WoW circle, but knows WoW, plays WoW, likes WoW a lot, but at the same time doesn't necessarily do that all the time. And we took a couple of days to think about that, and we came back and we had a conversation, and I'm pretty sure all 4 of us came back with the same name, and that was Mizkif. And he's, I've watched Mizkif streams numbers of times, and I think he's very smart about the way he does content. I think he's got a really good insight into content, and SFan and Mizkif are getting houses together, okay, so next to each other, actually. So that kind of goes to show what SFan thinks about Mizkif, and Rich and Tips basically think the same thing that I do. So all 4 of us pretty much agreed that we really wanted to have Mizkif involved at pretty much whatever it took. So we spent a long time thinking about kind of what to offer him, what to do for him, what we could get him to, what we could say to get him to be part of the org, etc. Because we didn't know what he was going to want to do at all. And so we talked to, we finally, we got into a call, the 4 of us got into a call, and we were like, okay, we need to talk to Mizkif. And so SFan starts talking to him, and SFan brings Mizkif into the call. And this is after we had planned for this for like an hour or something like that. And I remember I started giving him the pitch for the org, and I don't even think that I finished the pitch before he was like, I'm in, just like, yep, I'm in, let's do it, I'm down to do it, that's fine with me, let's go. And I remember thinking, it was like the biggest sigh of relief, and it felt to me like if you've ever done a Dark Souls boss, and the boss for some reason bugs out, or it accidentally jumps off the edge and dies, or basically you get a free kill on a boss, and you just get extremely lucky. That's basically how I felt. I was so concerned that he wasn't going to want to do it, or X, Y, or Z thing would be the case, and it turned out that he was just all in, and he just really wanted to be part of it. And at that time, the 4 became the 5, and so then I just kind of wanted to, I wanted to actually do it. Like at that point, I knew that this is a reality, this is something that we can do, this is something that we should do, and at that point, we had so many people working on it, it was something that we would do. And we started working on names. We originally had the name Prime, which was a great name. All of us agreed it was an awesome name. And we talked to a legal firm, and this legal firm informed us of another company that actually had a name very similar to that, called Prime, and their name was Amazon. So we went with a different name. And after, trial and error, we finally ended up going with OTK, One True King. And we thought it was the coolest name that we could come up with, and that's basically what our best name could be. And so we went with this, and this is what we are now. And after a number of other ideas were kind of crossed out very, very quickly in the same fashion. So anyway, we went with that name, we got branding, we got the social media channels and everything like that, and we kind of all agreed that it would be me to announce it. And I was a little bit nervous about this, right? Because I'm announcing this big org all by myself on my stream in front of, a lot of people, because we had teased this announcement for a long time. And I was you know, I was a little bit nervous about it. So I remember it was like a few days, like 3 or 4 days before the announcement. I was thinking to myself, "Fuck, like, is there any way I can get out of this? Is there any way, like, should we really do this?" You know, the usual doubts that you have at the 11th hour. And I remember the night before the announcement, I went over to Svan's house and everybody was over. And we talked about it a lot. And I remember we talked about everything. We talked about what I was going to say. We had like a list and everything like that. And because they were very concerned, I think they were concerned I was going to fuck it up. Which, I mean, to be fair, I don't blame them. And so they were very, very, very concerned about this, and they were worried that like I'd say something wrong, or I wouldn't say something, or I would say something, etc. So they wanted to make sure that everything was as clean as I did. And so finally we get done with that. And I remember driving home that night and thinking to myself, I'm like, I'm gonna just like I'm not nervous at all anymore. Like I'm ready to fucking do this. Like, let's go. And the next day, I'll be honest, I announced it at 3, and at about 2:55, I was a little bit jittery. Yeah, okay. But getting into the announcement and actually doing it, and then seeing how excited everybody was to finally see it, and just like that sense of fulfillment was really incredible to me. And I don't think I'll ever forget that day. So if you were there, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I really mean that. I will probably never forget it. And so I announced the org, and everything is just going so incredibly well. And I'm honestly just so astounded that that's happened. I feel incredibly lucky, and I'm very happy for that to be the case. And everybody was happy with the announcement. Everything went great. We went over to Mizkif's stream. We had the same exact thing happen there. We had so many people interested in it and wanting to be part of it. I really am absolutely flattered, honestly, to say the least, about how well it's been received. So all of that happened. And then on top of that, I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of why I did this and why I wanted to do this. And the big reason is that I always look at my life as kind of, I like to take everything that I've done and I like to move it forward with me in a way that's kind of meaningful, in a way that I can kind of grow as a person. And I viewed streaming as kind of that thing. I grew up making videos, I grew up playing video games, and so now I am fucking making videos about playing video games. Just kind of makes sense. But there was another element of my life that I never really got a chance to really realize. Never got a chance to really interface with it all. And I am very passionate about making businesses and doing that kind of stuff and just all that kind of that type of work. It really interests me a lot, to the point to where I actually have a degree for it in college, and that's what I went to college for. And I never really got a chance to actually put any of that knowledge or any of that interest to work. It was just kind of a latent passion of mine that just kind of was being ignored. And I saw the org as a way to perfectly merge what I've been doing with streaming and also what I've always wanted to do with business together. And so that's one of the big reasons why I wanted to do it, is because it felt like the next logical step for me in terms of what I really wanted to do and the content and everything that I'm able to provide for the viewers. And so I'm really excited to be able to do this. And to me, the whole opportunity to be able to have this organization, which is basically just it's a big ploy for me to be able to hang out with my friends. I mean, let's be honest. And which is great right in itself. And then on top of that, to be able to do these events together and create content for the streams, it's a dream come true, honestly. And I just can't express how much I'm thankful for people being so supportive of it. I also wanted to say that a lot of these kinds of things, I know obviously people are probably, they're almost probably afraid to be hopeful about these kinds of things, especially about what's happened with previous orgs in the past, and also what's happened with different people in the past. I know this year has been it's been kind of bad for content creators, you know? And so I know that a lot of you guys are nervous to be invested in a new org or new content, and I totally understand that. If you're not, if you're worried, if you're anxious, if you're skeptical, that's fine. I look forward to earning your trust. I'm very confident in this, and it's something that I'm pretty much fully invested in at this point. So for better or for worse, it had better fucking go well, or it's going to be my problem. So I'm not too worried about any of that kind of stuff. I don't really want to try to, try to get people to trust me about it be going really well or anything like that. I think just let the results speak for themselves, and that's really all there is to it. I'm very confident about being able to do this because, in a way, I feel like my whole life has prepared me for this moment. And so, who could be more prepared for it than I am, or than I could be right now? And so, a lot of other people are also concerned about this taking time away from my stream because I'll be doing org stuff, etc. Now, I can never promise that I will never have to take a day off because of the org. That seems very unlikely that I could even promise that ever. But I can say this. There's a reason why we have 5 people on a team. And there's a reason why we have a delegation of responsibilities. And the fact is that I could have tried to involve only 3 people and done more work myself. But I value doing my own content as well very highly and having my own peace of mind and not having to worry about a bunch of shit. So to me, it was definitely worth it to involve more people. And because of that, I don't really think this is going to take away from my streams hardly at all. And on top of that, I think that more than anything, it'll add to them. I'll have more opportunities to do more produced content with these guys and also other people as well that you guys will find out about soon. And then on top of that, I'll just have more opportunities to deliver more interesting and different content for you guys that I haven't really had the chance to do so yet. And that's something that I'm really looking forward to in a big way. I'll have more chances to do YouTube content as well. Just more chances to do different types and more varied types of content, which is something that I've wanted to move into for quite a while now. So I don't, for a lot of you guys that are concerned about this kind of meaning that I'm quitting streaming or something like that, unfortunately, it's actually the opposite. And now I'm more locked into having to stream, and it's harder for me to take breaks now. So if you were worried about that, you can actually feel the exact opposite. I'm going to be very invested in this, very much so. So I'm really excited to be able to do this. It's been something, as I said, that I've been looking forward to for over a year now. And now that I can finally talk about it, I'm just so glad that it's out in the open and we can just have a conversation about it rather than just making illusions and kind of referring to it in like this weird, arcane way. But now I can just say, yeah, OTK, this is the org, this is what we're doing. And not everything can be revealed. Obviously, there's some things that we have to keep behind closed doors for a little bit longer. But rest assured that you will know very, very soon. And so, guys, I wanted to say thank you all so much for being part of this journey. It's kind of weird. I never thought that I would be here 5 years ago, but here we are. So thank you guys all so much, and I look forward to making more content and entertaining everybody and doing the best job that I possibly can. So if you guys have any questions or concerns or comments about the org, I'd be very curious to hear them, or things that you'd want us to do. I think that's another big thing. If there's something that you guys would want us to do, please go ahead and let us know. We have a Reddit or Twitter or anything like that, or you can just put it in the comments of the video. I'll probably read all 3 of them because there's nothing better for me to do. So you know what? Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And you know what? I'll see you in the next one. Peace.